Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. It was a tough night if you were betting the Bills last night. Ooh, because that just felt like the lock of the century. When Rodgers went down, lock of the century. And did you guys hear about that bar in Wisconsin that was offering free drinks if the Bills won last night? Like
People
basically
just going to town.
Well, when Rodgers went down, guys were like loading up on drinks. Like, give me the most expensive cocktail you have.
What did they get informed? Like in the morning, they had to wheel back there and pay, or just their bills would have been outrageous?
Yeah, I guess it was a scenario where, I don't know, maybe you had to put your card down and, you know, they would waive it if the Bills won. But if not, you were waking up and that card was going to be charged. That's probably how they did it. Like, in order to qualify, you got to put your card down, but we just won't swipe it. You know, if the Jets lose, we won't swipe it. But if they win, you're getting swiped. And I guess, again, naturally, guys were like, man, just everything. Shots on me. Everyone wants a beer. Who wants? Who needs? Let's have a time. And then all of a sudden, there's a walk-off punt return win for the Jets.
With a penalty, potentially.
With an asterisk.
Oh, is that what it is?
Did you hear the rules official for ESPN drop asterisk again last night?
Boy,
what is with this word in the NFL lexicon right now? Everyone can't wait to drop, wow, that's an asterisk. Doesn't
How
really
was
count.
it used? How was it used last night?
Well, there was a tripping call that should have been called. Like, by the letter of the law, that kick return should have been called back, right? And it wasn't. It was a missed call. So Buck and Aikman,
that trip right there
on TSN too. So, you know, Buck and Aikman are doing their thing, and Buck actually had a great call. He's like, no flags. There's no flag. Because if you're watching, you're waiting for the flag.
Yeah, he kept going. Yeah.
You're always waiting. Okay, where was the hold? Where was what happened? Where they're going to call this back? And they didn't. So I thought Joe Buck had a phenomenal call that play. And then they went to the rules official, I guess seeing it on the tape, saying, hey, do you want to comment on this? And the guy's like, asterisk. That should have been called back.
Dude,
it's like,
looking at that trip, that looked like there's no way the body position of that player from Buffalo could have done that intentionally.
Regardless, it should have been called.
Do you know what I
guess.
mean? The guy was midair. Like, I don't know how he can control his leg at the last second midair.
Well,
he gets taken down right there.
That's right.
He's not even looking right now, and all of a sudden, I don't know.
Well, and furthermore, Jets fans are like, do you realize that Aaron Rodgers left the game after 4 snaps? Can you just allow us a phantom
he knew what he
call?
was doing.
I think he was aware of what he was doing. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it didn't get called. The Jets won. It was a miracle. It was amazing. Full credit to New York.
Yeah.
Yet Zach Wilson is their quarterback this morning. And Robert Saleh is doing the rounds, and he's trying to convince the world that he's convinced Wilson is the guy that is really going to take him to the promised land.
He has no choice, man.
What if Wilson is the guy, though?
That'd be a great story.
Like, that's
wouldn't that be a greater story than? Let me ask you that. Would that be a more Disney, Hollywood, fantasy written story?
Right.
Yes.
If Zach Wilson won a Super Bowl instead of Aaron Rodgers for the Jets?
Absolutely, because he was the guy that everyone counted out, and it was doom and gloom, and everybody hated him on the team, and he was a suck and a petulant child, and the spoiled second overall pick or whatever what was he, first overall?
Second overall, yep.
Second overall, and then he comes back and he gets the deal done. That's the better story.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. He should embrace it. I'm telling you, he should sign with the quarterback or whatever. Peyton Manning. Nobody signed up, right? They all bailed.
I think this guy needs it to be quiet. Don't you think?
I just noise
like if you're
it up.
Saleh, the only thing, like, remember, this was the guy that I shouldn't even go here with some allegations, reports about what he was up to off the field. There was some stuff that was allegedly going on in his personal life, nothing illegal or anything like that. Where if cameras caught it, be like, what's going on there with Zach Wilson? Like, what's he up to, man? He's a young guy in New York, and now he's flung into this again.
Yeah.
I think the last thing he needs is a camera crew following him around. He needs to concentrate on a simplistic playbook. So pass the ball off, throw what you're supposed to throw, and get the hell out of there.
Like a Jeter lifestyle. Like he would just be not good.
Yeah. Do you think Jeter would be the coolest, like, behind the scenes camera show ever, or what?
No, because it's a different time, and I just don't think it would be as I don't know, be as accepted.
You mean like in his heyday?
Yeah, Jeter.
Yeah, I'm talking like
Oh,
2000.
sure. Some of his routines are apparently legendary.
Yes, I agree.
Legendary
I know, but
routines.
that's not, that's not.
No, I know, but we're talking in a fantasy world here. Like,
Okay,
if you could be a fly on the wall and you were tracking anybody's prime on the field and off the field, would Jeter be your guy?
Yes,
Tiger.
and his routines. His routines are legendary.
Yeah, I think Tiger would be up there.
Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
Tiger would be up there.
See what he was up to.
I mean, these are great athletes. I'm talking on the field too. You got to consider the incredible, performances these guys continue to put forward.
I don't even know if this is true, but you get caught in these like YouTube, whatever it's called, the Instagram reels.
Yeah, the rabbit holes.
There's the one where it's like Tiger's walking and there's a number exchange or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a woman had a
I don't think that was his first time doing that.
No, he looked like he'd been practicing that.
That was like a magician
Yes.
card trick.
That was that's a number trick that only Tiger can pull off. All right, here is former NFL quarterback, ESPN football and TSN NFL analyst joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline, making his return to OverDrive. Here's our buddy Jesse Palmer. What's up, Jesse?
Fellas, how we doing?
Oh, we're doing really well, man. We're doing very well. The NFL's back, and it's supplying storylines that are crazy. And we just posed this question. I'd be curious to get your answer on it. If you were a script writer in Hollywood and your job was to write this incredible NFL script, which one do you think would sell more to an audience? Aaron Rodgers staying healthy and winning a Super Bowl as the New York Jets quarterback, or Aaron Rodgers getting injured and then Zach Wilson winning a Super Bowl as the quarterback of the New York Jets?
It's the latter, because it's like Varsity Blues. Did you guys ever watch Varsity Blues?
Yes.
Vanderbeek.
Yep, Moxon.
Like, little mocks, little whipped cream at the party. It's one of those crazy stories, man, where it's like, we're all watching last night, and just the anticipation and the build-up just to that game. And I know you guys have probably talked about it already ad nauseam. I think every football fan is to this point. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers to New York, to me, that was the story all off season, because it was sexy. It was a guy that's 1 year removed from back-to-back MVP trophies. It's a guy who I think has the perfect personality for the New York City media market. Coming from a guy that's played quarterback in that city before, I think Aaron Rodgers was like tailor-made for that, and a loaded roster that was missing one piece to potentially completely turn around a franchise that had just been begging for a run at a Super Bowl since Joe Namath, and he was the guy that was going to deliver. And then you mean to tell me, like, literally 4 snaps going in, that all gets completely eliminated. And now we're back to Zach Wilson, the guy that, Peyton Manning joked during his telecast with his brother, like, he still plays for the Jets? Because, it was like such an afterthought, And so, when that happens, I'm literally texting all my Buffalo Bills fans and friends, saying, like, dude, you guys are good. You can, like, totally relax one drive into this game. Like, you got this, and the AFC East just became a lot more winnable. And for all the craziness that happened last night, and the fact that Zach Wilson was the winning quarterback and now is like being given the keys to a very shiny car with the defense they have, and a receiver like Garrett Wilson, and a running back like Breece Hall, and multiple first-round picks on the offensive line, like, it's a pretty incredible script. If it ends up ends up in Hollywood fashion.
How difficult do you think it'll be for Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, to convince the rest of the roster that he actually believes in Zach Wilson?
I honestly, watching Zach Wilson's body language yesterday, I think he needs to convince Zach Wilson he's good enough to do it.
Right.
Am I right? Like,
it's
you
true.
were watching it too. I mean, like, dude, there were times, like, do you remember on the sideline, like, Garrett Wilson talking to Zach Wilson, and he's like, bro, he's like, we can do this. We're going to get open. We've got guys. He's looking at him. He's like, come on, like, stay in it. It was the end of the first half, and he'd thrown a brutal interception. to Milano over the middle of the field in the first half. And it's like, Zach Wilson never thought he was going to play in that game. And you know, you can game plan and watch the film and know all the plays and you're ready to go. But, I mean, he was ready for the Aaron Rodgers show just like we all were, too. I think Robert Saleh needs to, like, call Zach Wilson into his office, too. And Woody Johnson needs to, too, the Jets owner, and just say, hey, dude, like, you're the guy, and you have an unbelievable opportunity to completely rewrite the script here. I don't know if how many guys in that locker room believe it right now, but I don't think a lot of people believed in Tom Brady back in 2001, when he came off the bench in that locker room. I don't know if Tom Brady did. I don't know if his teammates did. And so there's probably a little bit, a similar approach there. But Zach Wilson's the guy that has to buy. He's got to buy into it first. Because if he's able to put a couple good games here together and get the confidence rolling, this is going to be must-watch TV every week.
Jesse, with respect to Josh Allen on the other side, would you agree with me the most concerning thing about last night was not the picks and awful decision-making on the field? I was more concerned with the comments after, where he was saying, like, same garbage, different day. Like, for a quarterback that the organization has heavily invested in, to hear those types of things, I thought they were crazy.
Yeah, it's obviously been a theme throughout his career. The thing that really bothered me the most, I guess, was when a guy's playing that recklessly at this stage of his career, it is concerning. Obviously, he's uber talented, and everybody knows that, and certainly he knows that too. But some of the decisions in the game, because, I mean, listen, the fact is you probably put the film on again against that defense and that pass rush and Quinn and Williams and all those monsters. I mean, I'd argue 89, 90% of what he did I thought was awesome. I mean, he was under duress. He was making crazy throws. His touchdown pass to Diggs was incredible. I mean, he was scrambling. He was making plays in really tough circumstances. The fact that he even got them in position to tie the game late in a 2-minute drive, I thought was fantastic. But there's 4 plays that you just can't have. In the NFL, you're just not going to win with. He was obviously dejected after the game. That roster is way too talented to lose to the New York Jets without Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. And Josh Allen cannot be the guy to lose the game. He did lose the game. I mean, I know quarterbacks are always supposed to say that. It's on me. You take more blame than what you deserve. But, I mean, that's on Josh. Last night was on Josh Allen. Let's be honest.
So it's Overreaction Tuesday, we'll call it, after the first week of the NFL. Of the teams that we'll call them have rock stars for quarterbacks, Allen struggled. There was a couple others that struggled as well. Joe Burrow. Who do you have the most faith in that will bounce back right away?
Oh, it's Joe Burrow, for sure. It's funny. Everybody's talking about how Jim Schwartz found out the kryptonite of the Bengals, just blitz Joe Burrow. He'll go 3 of 12 against the blitz. Joe Burrow didn't complete one pass in the game that traveled more than 10 yards downfield. Think about that. With Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all those guys. Like, he got nothing downfield, and all of a sudden everyone is acting like the Browns figured it out. I think so much of that performance for Joe Burrow was just rust and losing time in training camp. And people will question that. Well, he's Joe Burrow. He should be able to get it right back. You don't, though. And when you miss that much time, the speed of the game is all off, and you need to get back out on the field, and you need to feel it again. And you could just see it in the game. The funny thing about the NFL is that it's a copycat league. And so there's coordinators that are putting on the film. The Ravens are watching film. That's who they're going to play next. And they're like, oh, this is great. We're just going to dial up a bunch of pressure and throw cover 0 blitz. That's not going to keep working against Joe Burrow and all those receivers. I mean, there's blitz beaters and everything else. He just signed a passive contract for a reason. And to me, Joe Burrow and that offense are going to bounce back much sooner than later.
With Jesse Palmer, the overreaction obviously it can spin both ways, right? Where you've got teams like the Bills, who we're talking about, teams like the Giants, who you're very familiar with, who got absolutely stomped on Sunday night.
Guys, this call was going so good.
I know. I had to go there, man. And I was just going to reference it, but it's so ugly down there, isn't it? I mean, it's been all Jets all the time, and now it will continue to be the Jets in New York. We had someone on earlier last hour who said, like, it's a Giants town. 80% of the chatter generally is about the Giants. It's been all about the Jets because of Rodgers. Now that Rodgers is out of the way, it feels like New York will probably wake up and say, okay, what's up with the Giants again? They got smoked 40-0 to the Cowboys. Like, Danny Dimes got to be a stud, and I don't see it happening, Jesse. I don't know if you have faith in Danny Dimes moving forward, but
I just know in the NFL you're not supposed to lose 40-0.
Right.
I know that. I mean, I know, like, the league is built so that you don't lose 40-0. Like, the worst team gets the first pick in the draft for a reason. There's a salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
For a reason, right? I mean, like, no one's losing at home 40-0 like that when you've got Saquon and he's upset and he's playing under his current contract. You know, he's trying to make a statement after the way that offensive line played a year ago. To go out, you're gonna get sacked 8 times. Like, I know Micah Parsons is really good. There's no doubt. And people are now saying he's like the next Lawrence Taylor, and he's a special player. I get it. And they've got Diggs and they've got a bunch of dudes on that defense. But come on, man. I mean, I think that there was a bit of a false sense of security, maybe it hanging over them in the offseason, because this is a team, the Giants, that was not supposed to go to the playoffs a year ago. And all of a sudden they kind of had that magic run. And listen, Daniel Jones did play great. And Brian Dable, like, he's a hell of a quarterback coach. He's like QB whisperer. He's been that throughout his career at college and in pro. But I don't know, man. It just kind of seemed to me like the Giants took the field thinking they could just roll their helmet out there and they were going to be able to at least push that game into the fourth quarter. And obviously that's not what happened. That was brutal. The Giants, they need to wake up quickly. I mean, there's a lot of teams feeling that way. The Chiefs probably feel a little bit that way too after week 1. And what happened to them losing against my old teammate Dan Campbell in Detroit? You know, last year's last year, man. I mean, that's the hardest thing. I remember we went to the playoffs my second year, and we were in the locker room after getting beat by San Francisco at the old Candlestick, and Jim Fossil came in the locker room. We just lost the playoff game, right? A lot of people were pretty upset. And Jim Fossil, it was like we were like celebrating. He was like, "Hey, we're going to be a damn good team next year. Just you wait. Just wait." And dude, I think we won 4 games. It's like you got to turn the page, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you got to get over it. Like the Giants right now, not good. And you know, hope you're now going to go on the road to Arizona. You got to get this thing turned around quick.
Yeah, big time. You're right, man. I mean, you know it. You lived it. We have Luke in here all the time, Luke Wilson. He's like, it's a weird vibe when you lose in the NFL. Like a weird feeling, and there's all that pressure to respond. And yes, it's only week 1, but that's all you know. If it's only week 1 and you lost, that means you can't even reflect on a win because it hasn't happened yet this year.
It's hard, man. And for all the reasons we just said, like we're talking about, like Luke's absolutely right. Like, rosters are loaded. Everybody's got people that can beat you. If any NFL team shows up and everyone's clicking, they're playing their A game, everyone's beatable. No doubt. I remember we lost against the greatest show on turf against the Rams and Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk and Torrey Holt and all those guys. We were beating them for like 55 minutes of the game in the dome. It was crazy. And we ended up losing late, made a couple of mistakes. Kurt Warner drives them down the field to take a field goal and beat us. And we're in the locker room after. And Kerry Collins said it. He said, it is hard to win in this league. It is hard. And when you've got opportunities, you got to close the show. You got to get it done. But the game planning and the minds, the coordinators, and the talent, Luke's absolutely right. It's hard. I'll tell you what's harder, though. Losing 40-0.
Yes. Yes. That's a different level of hardship. I don't think there's any questioning that.
What's that cat like, Kerry Collins? You ever hit the town with that guy, Jesse?
No, it was post New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panthers, Kerry Collins.
Okay. That's a different cat. That guy's in a different stage of life.
He was living out in, dude, he had a house like an hour away from the stadium, and that guy would like deer hunt. He'd be up in his stand. Like, he was the most even-keeled dude. He'd throw like a game-winning touchdown pass to beat the Saints at home, and like, I'm going nuts. I'm like asking him where he's going to dinner because I just want to go celebrate. He's like, man, I'm going back in my stand. I'm going to be quiet, away from people. he was so zen at that point of his career. Very different from the aforementioned.
Yeah, that's what we've heard. We'll leave it there, Jesse. Always great having you on, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
There he is, Jesse Palmer of ESPN, TSN NFL analyst, former NFLer himself. Good Canadian boy joining us here on the Maple Toyota hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, we'll see, man. That New York football scene is wild with the Giants getting blown out 40-0. And then the
Imagine
Jets.
our boy Donnie LaGreca today.
Oh.
He would have
he'd be going
lots
nuts.
of Oh, my.
Nuts. And you know how he feels about an offensive line. Like, he's not a Jets guy, I don't believe, but like that line, they didn't protect Rodgers last night. You know, it was still a fluke injury, and he got, but still, if the line is there and they block appropriately, you're not even in that situation.
Remember his soundbite? Was it Joe Plisarczyk or
Joe
something?
Plisarczyk, yeah.
You're dead.
You're dead. Joe Plisarczyk on the Giants and algorithms or something. I don't know, man. That was one of the great rants ever.
It's too bad. I think his show was on the same time as ours down in New York, correct?
Yeah, I think he's on with
Or
Michael
else
Kay down there.
We could have him on, like he would be. Because he's a big hockey guy, too. He calls Ranger games and stuff. So
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
we might have to do a pre-tape with him one of these days. He's
We might
awesome.
have to. Yep, Donnie
He'll be
LaGreca.
yelling and screaming about that.
This is, crazy news when you think the Giants lose 40-0 and Rodgers loses the season the next night. Think about how wild that is.
Dude, they're OverDrive New York.
Crazy.
40-0 Giants is all they need.
Just open the phone.
That alone, you're right. That is crazy. But, I have such a level of jealousy for cities like New York that have multiple teams in multiple sports.
Yeah.
Like the idea of 2 football teams, 2 basketball teams,
3
2
hockey
baseball
teams.
3 hockey teams. Like, it just never stops.
And there's always a fire,
something.
though. There would be always something, right?
Always something going on. Always.
Man.
Yeah. And Chicago's got multiple teams. LA's got multiple teams. I mean, it never stops.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's not going to stop in terms of the NFL and what's going on down there in New York. All right, Jays Rangers tonight. Keegan Matheson will join us later this afternoon from the Rogers Center. Game 2 of a 4-game series. They need to get back off the schneid, man. That was ugly last night.
Yeah.
Pitching did not show up. Vladdy had a really poor night at the plate. Like, that's troublesome, man. We keep waiting. Vladdy, come on. Drag this team into the promised land.
Anytime now, pal.
Whenever you're ready. What do you have? 3 strikeouts last night? 0 for 4, 3 Ks? So Keegan will join us. We'll get into that. Confirm or deny still to come later this afternoon as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, confirm or deny coming up. I can confirm. We'll get to confirm or deny at around 6:05. I can confirm. We'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. And Keegan Matheson coming up.
Blue Jays got to win
Rangers tonight.
They got to win tonight.
Well, you know what was weird was, and we were talking about the attendance. There was like 23,000 people there last night. It was
23.
That's what I believe the reported attendance was. 23,000, the lowest
Maybe
of the year.
Kiermaier was sniffing that out and saying, "Come on, folks, let's get cooking."
Let's hope for a response tonight, where maybe there's a lot of football fans that cross over into that baseball. Monday night football. First.
Yeah, I think Mondays in the fall are tough. Your kids are back in school. Yeah. People are back to work. Your usual routine.
Oh, Tuesdays are no different.
I'm not saying they are. I mean, listen, I don't know what they're getting tonight, but it was soft over the weekend, and the explanation was, well, it's Kansas City. This is like a series that has been marketed thoroughly for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
Like do or die, most important series of the year. I can't believe I just heard that, to be honest with you.
And once it got to like 10-4, naturally the game was over. People are starting to clear out. But it was the lowest attended game of the season last night for game 1 of the Jays Rangers. I'm not sure what to expect tonight. I think maybe the team has to take on some of that responsibility. They've been a very frustrating team all year. They don't play riveting baseball in terms of entertainment value. But they're in the playoffs, and it's a big game at home. And there's like 18 games left to be played. But last night, Chris Bassett goes back out for the 6th. That Schneider was getting crushed last night, deservedly so. He can be really quick to pull. Kikuchi from a game, Ryu from a game, and maybe that's reciprocated. Maybe those guys are happy to come out.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some George Kirby in there.
Ryu.
I threw my 90 pitches, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But Bassett, he just leaves in. And Bassett, you could tell, couldn't find the zone. He didn't have his stuff. Goes out there for the 6th, then the game's over.
That was it.
Single, wild pitch, double, see you later.
When he doesn't have his stuff, it looks like he's just tossing muffins in there. Doesn't it look like that?
It's not aesthetically a good look.
No,
when
because
Bassett's
it
off.
looks like a guy that's not, and it's an awful thing to say, and I don't mean it, but it looks like a guy that's not very good, that's trying so hard, and it's just muffin ball.
Like the pitcher from 2 nights ago. The
Yeah.
guy threw the 3 wild pitches.
Yes, Raggins.
Dragons.
That one stung, man.
I missed the game where Gosman, like I haven't seen Gosman yet with the salad.
Yeah, well, I mean, he still has he looks like Luke Wilson now.
Yeah, mullets.
He's got a mullet. Yeah,
Yes,
he's basically got a mullet. Like before, he had like a shaggy type look.
That's what it.
Now he's just he's tightened it up a little bit. It's still he didn't take it down to the wood.
They were acting like he'd shaved his head.
Right.
So, well, then I'm not missing anything. Luke Wilson's hair is, it's party on top, or what is it? Business on top, party
Business
in the
on
back?
top, party on the back. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to describe a mullet.
I used to have a killer mullet, like a killer one, but that was like early 90s.
Mullets
type
are
of thing.
never in, though. Like, how people say, well, they used to be in. They weren't in at any
Never.
point. There was just a
Why,
certain
they were in. When I was playing junior, they were in.
junior hockey, possibly. But I don't think it was a society-wide thing. Like
I've seen
certain
a hockey
communities.
card.
Junior
Jeff
hockey was
O'Neill.
a standard buzz cut on top and just like absolute flow just on the back of your scalp. Like insane look.
I've seen like hockey cards with a mullet.
You had a mullet? I don't
Yeah.
remember seeing
Oh,
you with
yeah.
a mullet.
Yeah, I had a mullet like
Scotty
Lethbridge Hurricanes.
Pearson, former Leaf draft pick,
Yeah.
who was like a god physically.
Yes.
He had a legendary hockey mullet. Buzz cut up top and straight, just long salad along the back of the grappler. Try to come up with his.
There's
look at this mullet.
That's my mullet.
That's your mullet. You
That's in
had
the
like a
playoffs.
poly walnut side.
No, that little strip of white there or whatever,
Yeah.
that
Are those
blonde.
wings?
We did that in the playoffs. We all dyed our left side, just the left side, blonde.
Who dressed you, too?
That's
That
a tough
sweater
The
is
decision.
sweater was a
outrageous.
joke. I will admit, it was my buddy Trevor Ketz's sweater, and it was picture day, and I had nothing, so I just put it on.
Okay.
But I mean, I was fine with those glamour shots.
Yeah.
there was nothing.
Like, you
I was
knew what
doing.
you were doing. You had
I
the
knew
mullet, you had
exactly.
the
I had a
wings.
mullet. I've been like, give me your sweater. I put it on. I embraced the whole thing. Was it Rob Pearson you were talking about, or Scotty Pearson?
I thought he said
Scott
Pearson.
Scott Pearson.
Because Rob Pearson was a former Leaf, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
He
was.
had a
played
mullet,
for while.
too.
He was
He
an
had a
Oshawa
mullet,
general.
too.
He played with
Yes.
Lindros. He was
Rob
on that
Pearson, I
Lindros
played
team.
with him in the minors. He had one of the biggest heads I've ever seen,
was
ever
a
played
big
with.
dude.
He was so big.
Yeah, number 12, I think, with the Leafs.
Oh, like there's a.
That's not the best of it because it used to be just like a spiked on top and then the back salad.
Well, Iafredi by the end
Yeah,
was
Al
hanging on
Iafredi.
with the skullet, though. That
But
was.
then you're almost making a mockery of the mullet. If you have a shaved head and then hair, like a rat tail almost, like that's not pure. Like someone that really lives a mullet lifestyle, they actually put time and effort into the top of the head.
Yeah.
Too, right? Like they comb it, they'll
Yeah.
put some.
I don't think anyone with a mullet takes it seriously. It's not like anyone says like this is like dialed in and legit. It's almost like, wow, that's not a mullet.
That's like a. I don't know what is going.
That's
There's
just
a
a
mullet on the
wild
back, but like
haircut, man.
the top is.
Ali Afraidy had the wildest
That is Strutty.
haircut.
That is Strutty's gonna. We're gonna wake up 2 weeks from now. Strutty's gonna come on our show, and if we get a side profile, if we do a FaceTime with Strutty instead of a phoner,
Yeah.
that's what he might look like.
Like, do you think Guy Afraidy went into a barber shop and said, "This is what I'm looking for," or was that natural?
I don't know.
Like, like
You know those.
If Al Iafredi says something to me, I will strangle each and every one of you
no.
guys.
He's gone Messier now, right? Like
Yes,
Iafraidy's
it's
gone.
fully Messier.
He was one of the most intimidating players to ever play against in the history of the game because he was this monster, and I always thought he was kind of like too cool for hockey. I remember watching, like I was on the Aces.
Pure talent.
Remember I was the Dale Hunter situation. Iafredi was on that team.
Right.
I was on the Aces.
Capitals?
Yeah, he was on the Capitals.
He was with
so
the
I
Hunter
was
crew.
living at the hotel. I remember walking over to the game. I afraid he came out of the gift shop. He was eating a popsicle and he had a dart, and he was walking over to the game to play that night.
That's like the original LeBron with wine. Is a guy walking into the building with a dart.
Yeah, he was walking across the Long Island, Marriott, that parking lot,
Getting prepared for a playoff game.
and he had a popsicle and was hacking a dart. And there were fans around him. He just kept walking, and
Hey, listen, man, he was a pro,
That
right?
guy was
like he was a high pick, wasn't he? Like a 4th overall pick by the Leafs.
he was.
Hayes, didn't you
awesome.
say that he got hit and he was unconscious? He got railroaded up on the boards, and while unconscious, he still reached for his bucket and put it on his salad.
Yeah, that is factual. It was almost like his arm was like twitching. Like
I'm not going down like this. You're not
didn't
going
know-
to do me dirty like this.
Yeah, like
and he said, "Give me the bucket."
Yeah, he was really not in a good place. It was very compromising. Yet before the trainer got out there, a stretcher got out there, his arm reached out and found his helmet. And put his helmet back
Fourth
on.
overall pick in 1984 to the Toronto Maple
Yeah.
Leafs. Al Iafrate.
That means I afraid he went in 84 and Wendell went in 85. Wow. Wendell had a mullet when he came into the league.
There
Now
was-
that I don't
And
think
stash.
I don't think mullet. I don't think Wendell was wearing that as like I'm goofing around with that mullet. I think he was like, this is my look.
This is just, I'm from Saskatchewan, hello, and take it or leave
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yes.
Like
That
I'm very proud of this mullet.
I would bet
As he
everything
should
I
be.
have that Darren Drager had a mullet from
100%.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah, Saskatchewan in the
mustache.
mid '80s. There's no way you didn't. You had to have a mullet and a
Belly
stash.
Chase had one. Barry Melrose.
Yeah, that's right. Melrose in '93 still had a mullet.
I
Like when he
Melrose
was
to
when he
this
was coaching
day.
the Kings. Yeah, he probably still does today.
Well, he just has the combed back.
But that's what I'm saying. Like he puts effort into the top of his head.
Yeah,
There's O with
O.
a. But see, you have
No,
just
it's
long
longer on the
hair. That's
top,
not a.
yeah.
That's kind of a mullet, but not really. Like
That's
you got
longer
some.
on the top.
Yeah.
I just started growing it a little bit, and I started scoring a little bit more. So for like 2 or 3 years, I just had that salad.
Yeah. Doug Gilmore had a great mullet. JP just pointed that out.
Oh, that's
Dougie
right.
Gilmore in '93.
See, but they were popular in the
There's
early
a guy
90s.
I wouldn't mind following around in '93.
There's a
There's
On the
nothing
ice.
better than just cruising around and warm up with some hair flowing. It's top 5 things about playing in the NHL. Like instead of just a normal salad, you got some flow up there, and it's just
You
Yeah.
can
it's
feel it.
fly. Yeah, you can like that is pinnacle
Yeah.
warm up salad.
Look how spectacular Doug Gilmore looks in warm up.
Yes.
Like Dougie looks like obviously by that point it was pretty much a lock. You're probably going to the Hall of Fame, but like after that warm up, he was going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Like
Star.
no question. That mullet was phenomenal. Anyway, yeah, the hockey season's right around the corner. There was another announcement for a captaincy in a Canadian market. Adam Lowry gets the captaincy down in Winnipeg.
For me, that was natural, though.
Yeah.
Like if you knew the people in that dressing room and knew the team, know the way he conducted himself. Even it was a tough situation a couple of years ago. His dad was the assistant coach, got put as the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough if your kid's on the team. Adam's I've known him since he's been literally because I played with Dave in Calgary. So Adam was a young kid. He's an awesome human. Like it's a good fit because he's committed there long term.
Yeah.
Depending on what they do, they're
I
going to
think that's
shuffle the
what they
deck on
needed.
top of it. They need
Yeah.
stability there, right?
I think they needed that. They needed someone who loves Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And Adam Lowry loves Winnipeg. All he knows is Winnipeg. He's been a Jet his whole career.
fixture there.
He's a fixture there. He's 30. He's got 3 years left on his deal up front. The only guy with that much term is Connor. Josh Morrissey, I'm sure, would have been in the running. Morrissey's got 5 years left on his deal. He'll have an A on his jersey. But when Rick Bowness, your head coach, comes out after you lose a playoff series and says what he said, like he was disgusted with the Jets, disgusted with his team. I
think
can't
he
recall.
said the opposition. He said Vegas is better players. Their best players were so much better than ours. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I believe he used the word disgusted.
I think he did.
Yeah.
We
Like
have
he
to go
said
back
disgusted. If that is basically a sign that I hate the room, we have real problems here, and we need someone that is going to be mature,
Right.
someone that was going to embrace it. Because Lowry is not a superstar. He's not a
He's the third line center.
exactly. But I think there's a lot of pressure on him though because of what Bowness said at the end of the year last year. Now that Wheeler's gone, Dubois is gone, there's a chance Scheifele's going to be out in a year.
Right.
Like that room, all eyes are on Winnipeg's room as much as it is what's going on the ice because of how volatile it's been around that team.
Well, if everyone just plays and does what their own expectations are, that part shouldn't be a problem. Like if Hellebuck just says, you know what, I'm playing here this year and I got to deal with the rest afterwards. One of the best goalies in the league. Mark Scheifele, one of the best centermen in the league. You just can't deny that. And there's good people around him. There's good players there. And if everyone just does their job, there shouldn't be a whole lot of drama there.
Well,
unless there is one of those big transactions that happens mid-season, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen right now.
And you'd heard whispers of, okay, if that group or that room was dysfunctional, they just took out 2 key pieces.
Yes.
Right? So maybe, I don't know if those 2 were the culprits or added to it or whatever, but Wheeler's out. Dubois, who obviously didn't want to be there, was out too. Maybe the culture changes immediately. I don't know. It might shift on a dime. They might, or it needs to be fostered still if there's still other guys that need to exit stage left.
And it may not be from a position of bad guy in the room, but I think the Scheifele-Hellebuck stuff is hanging over this team.
For sure.
They both have 1 year left. Like that team made the playoff. They had a very good 50 games or whatever it was.
Till January.
Exactly. And then the wheels fell off. But basically they got in, and especially late, and I think their series going into Vegas, like it felt to me the game plan was Hellebuck's got to do this for us.
Right.
Like it's got to be the Hellebuck show.
There wasn't a ton of series. There's not a lot in that league where you're like, this one has no chance, Lance. And that's
there were a lot of people picking Winnipeg, man. I remember
myself, but
people were picking Winnipeg.
Morrissey blew his knee out. That I remember watching
help.
that. I was like, they are done. They've got no chance anyways. But I'm like, Ehlers coming back off injury. He had a bad year last year based on not being available to them.
I just don't think they're that close. I don't. I think they could be a playoff team. But for me, really, since they returned, like they've been back 12 years. I think they've made the playoffs 6 or 7 times. They had that conference final run in 2018.
Dude, they had some
That's 5
real
years
quality
ago.
squads back in the day when Wheeler was in his heyday. Like those,
Yeah,
they were good teams, man. They beat out
they
a
had
really
high
good
expectations.
Nashville team.
That's
and
fine,
went to the
but
conference finals against Vegas. And
I hear
lost.
you, but I don't see them as like a cup contending team.
Well, yes,
personally.
they're not that right now. They're
And-
certainly not that right
And
now.
if Hellebuck and Scheifele are going to leave, then I think they need to be realistic and say we have to adjust our plan here and think for 2 or 3 years down the road. I know that's difficult to do, and especially in a small market, ticket sales are starting to fade a little bit. I think they'll get nervous in Winnipeg.
Well, you
I
have
do.
to be because
But
that core,
it's not a stupid fan base. They know what they have.
that core didn't work. So they've had to adjust it. That's the thing. Bottom line is that they had the band together there for a while, and you got close in the conference finals, but you haven't been even close to anything since.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to, whether you wanted to or not, you had to break it up. Wheeler's gone, took the captaincy away from him. A year later, he's gone. Dubois, the move was forced, but he brought him in. He's a good player. Like Dubois in LA, we forget that center ice position is pretty damn strong in LA.
They're loaded.
With Kopitar, Deno, Dubois. Like that's impressive. That's a good 3-pack. That might be as good as anybody in the league down the middle for 3 total.
3-pack, they're
right?
loaded.
But I look at Winnipeg, they're shifting on the fly because what is it?
Iafallo. I like that kid.
I
though.
do too. He
he's
battles.
A good player, man.
The other kid, Velarde.
Velarde's a talent. If he can stay healthy, he can play.
And Perfetti is a good young player who was hurt last year. Like
That's
they
what I'm
have to
saying.
keep
They're
their homegrown. They have to keep their homegrown guys unless guys want to leave.
Exactly.
So you got to be young and turning over.
Well, that's what like in a way they have to operate like the Tampa Bay Rays do, because like Winnipeg's the smallest market in the league. This is just a fact. This isn't me dumping on them. They're on almost everyone's no trade list.
Right.
Like effectively, I think it's been well documented. There are a lot of
That is not
players.
dumping on them. That's
Just a straight
reality.
fact. There's
Yeah.
a lot of players in the league that are like, we're not going to Winnipeg. So you and I'm not saying Scheifele or Hellebuck apply there. They've signed there. They've stayed there. They've been there.
Yep.
And who knows? Maybe they have a great season. They re-sign and they move on. But if there's an inkling that Hellebuck and or Scheifele are not going to be a part of your program in the future, for me, I mean, and the time's probably already passed. Maybe it comes up again come the deadline, depending on where they are. I'd be looking to flip them.
Oh, yeah.
I'd flip and say, we got to reset here, and we need to sell our market.
If I was going to flip, I would have done it in the summer.
I agree with you. I think they missed that
that's
opportunity.
That's when you would have got the most.
But the thing is, though, maybe the marketplace wasn't there for them. Like, who is trading for Connor Hellebuyck? Hold on.
I know, but everybody says, you got to wait until the draft. Okay, the draft came and went. It's like, when the hell's a good time? Who the hell doesn't want to take a shot at Connor Hellebuyck and net for 1 year if you got a quality team?
But is it 1 year? So you're trading for him as a rental. So what are you going to give up? Because it starts with probably a first-rounder and a guy who plays a live player right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and
you could give up a first-rounder and have him for a whole year as opposed to giving up a first-rounder at the deadline because that's what it would take.
But so if you're going to just use him as a rental then, because he's going to want 8 times 8 or 8 times 7 or 7 years at 8 or 9 a year because he should.
He deserves it.
He deserves it.
But we've seen in the past, the guy can want whatever he wants, but if the market dictates that he's not getting that, then you got to chomp on something else.
Well,
there was a bunch of guys this summer that thought they were getting X and it just wasn't there, so they said, you know what? I got to take Y and chew on it for a year.
But that's exactly the point I'm making. Everyone seemed to think it's like, okay, Elias Lindholm's getting traded. Noah Hannafin's getting traded. Mark Scheifele's getting traded. Connor Hellebuyck's getting traded. All these players that were William Nylander's getting traded if he doesn't have a deal. I think a lot of GMs are like, the hell with this. We're not, I'm not paying that for that player and he might walk. Like a lot of these guys have to chew on it and come back to their respective teams, have good years, either get traded at the deadline or used by that organization as their own rental and walk and create your own marketplace next summer. Like, I don't know if the marketplace was that hot for a lot of these players this summer. And if it was, I don't know if the return was, I guess, what the manager would want back.
Right, and it's worthy of it. I mean, that can be, that puts the manager in a tough spot trying to explain why I dumped a core piece for, pennies on the dollar.
Right, exactly.
And that obviously will lead to, I'm sure, a lot of GMs, understandably, and I think they should, being stubborn and saying we're not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to be taken advantage of because I'm in a precarious position here because a guy wants out or we're a year away from losing him for nothing.
But let me pose a question to you guys then. If a manager doesn't want to lose those assets at the deadline, say your team's having a good year, but you don't want to lose those assets. Are you trading?
Well, they probably won't. Like, they won't in that market. They'll keep going. They'll go back to the well. And they made the playoffs last year. Like, maybe the Jets do that again this year.
Right.
I don't see the makings of a Stanley Cup contending
There's a difference between playoff and
exactly.
Stanley Cup.
And that's all I'm saying. They've been there for 12 years,
Right.
and they've been a good team for a while.
Yeah.
I don't think they've been elite, but they haven't been awful either. Like, it's just they're right in the middle. And for me, I think it's time they choose one way or the other. Like, really go all in and trade assets and bring in pieces and say this is our last dance. Or say, we got to go the opposite way. But at this point, I think they're going to go right down the middle. That's what it feels like. All right, Keegan Matheson, Jays Rangers tonight. We'll catch up with him down at the park. Confirm it tonight in about 20 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. So the NHL is congregating down in Vegas. They're doing their whole kind of preseason media tour and a lot of star players down there. Every team's represented, and I guess Bill Daly's down there as well, the deputy commissioner of the NHL, and he's speaking with ESPN. Greg Wyshynski was reporting that I guess Bill Daly has suggested that they might be keen to the idea of returning to Atlanta for a third time.
That is, I don't know.
What?
Yes. he's saying if they decide to expand, and we all know what's coming, this league will be 40 teams within a decade. Like the expansion fees, the amount of money, how successful it's been with Vegas and Seattle. They can't get enough of it.
Dude, I was in
They're going back to Atlanta.
I was in the Southeast Division, okay? They're not going back to Atlanta. I didn't see more than 3,500 people there. Mm-hmm. And it was a divisional team. I loved it. I got 2 hat tricks there, 2 out of my 3. But it was something else.
Yeah.
The only time they had a crowd is when they let the kids out of school to go. That was it.
It's so embarrassing.
Luxury boxes there.
It was a weird
setup.
rink, man. It was the weirdest rink in the NHL. I'm like, how are you new and you have the weirdest rink in the NHL?
Mm-hmm.
Terrible.
It was dark. Remember the weird lighting in Atlanta? It was awful.
I don't know.
Lighting.
Those jerseys were ugly too.
Terrible.
I didn't like those jerseys. Like,
But
there's other people that like them.
It's a massive market. Like
It is.
Atlanta's one of the
Atlanta's a big
10 biggest markets in the U.S. There's a lot of money, a lot of industry there.
Go to Houston. Houston, it's oil money there. That city can handle
They'll
it.
probably do both. They'll do Houston in the west and Atlanta in the east.
No, just Houston.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to add two. If you're in Quebec City, you got to be thinking.
Hey, look, I'm
never
not
getting
making
a
the
team.
call,
Never.
but come up with you got to come up with why. Why is it going to work now?
Well, again, I'm sure their answer will be more stable ownership, a better rink,
Yeah.
if that's true. And
They're going to say they already have a rink right there.
yeah, I guess they'll share wherever the Hawks play, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. Oof.
we'll see. Looks like they might go back to the wall. Who knows when that's going to be and if it actually happens. But I guess it's on
On the table.
the table anyway. Final hour coming up. Jays Rangers tonight. We'll tee it up, confirm and deny as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.